harvest time.
What's up? Welcome to the Sonoran Desert out here in Arizona, where we grow Soil Sun Love. Today we're collaborating with Mr. Denny from
Hey there.
Crucial Brands. Today I get the pleasure to interview and introduce to you this lovely soil that's grown all over the world. He's been involved in grows in 3 different countries and also traveled the world for genetics and high quality strains. But today we're here in the desert field harvesting not only his organic sun-grown cannabis, but also regenerative and sustainable.
Yeah, keyword this year, man, we're really just trying to do what we think is regenerative anyway, which is basically a style of farming where you're using, you know, of course, the soil that you have, which, it's obviously best if you can grow in the soil that's on your farm. It's most sustainable. Certainly, we all have had, to use a lot of products that are imported as a substrate and using, a lot of petrochemical-based fertilizers. Ultimately, a lot of our food is that way, and it makes sense on big economic scales to do it like that. But ultimately, the way we see it, we're gonna have to be here for a minute, at least the human race anyway. So let's try to do what we can to make the soil under our feet as productive as we can. Not just and by making it super productive, we mean so it's sustainable for future generations, because you can kind of certainly deplete these things. Certainly, people deplete their cocoa and their peat moss, and I don't know, that other thing I think is like spun from a mineral or heavy duty mine vibes to get some of those other mediums that folks are using. So maybe, certainly, I've used it and people use it as we're learning, and I get it, but ultimately a lot of those resources, well, especially are expensive, and but for a farmer it winds up being costly, but at the same time, more importantly, you're adding, by trying to grow in this style, I'm going to try to describe the best of my limited understanding of it, you're trying to cover the soil at all times so that the sun's not baking down on it, which means a good bit of moisture, but it also means growing, a lot of weeds. I will just say it, what we call weeds in some cases aren't necessarily weeds, because, well, they are, it's just kind of a word, that we use, but these are plants that come up in these places, and like for here and for a lot of the Midwest of America, you have like a lot of weed pressure from amaranth. But back in the day, amaranth was a food crop. So that's originally, the food of the Aztecs, and, going way back in this area. This area here, we got get into a monologue, but this ground that we're on right here has been farmed by people. The cultures that lived here before us were farmers, and we're right on the Santa Cruz River Valley here. And, this couldn't be a more beautiful place, but to evidence to that is, sometimes when we're tinkering around in the dirt, we'll see evidence of, stuff that was going on at least 1,000 years ago, pots and shards, and
you feel the energy out
things.
here. The grounds are very sacred, for sure.
So we want to express that with the flower that we grow here. We want to use this soil, but also to restore it, because in different times, maybe not exactly this particular ground, but other farms in the area and these river valleys in the west have been heavily used. So these new techniques that a lot of farmers are employing, like the low till or no till, is really interesting. So that's part of our regenerative growing. But for us, we think it's important to have multi-species of plants, which is different thinking than
Cover crops.
Cover crops and things like that.
Creating like the
microbiome, I guess, I'm trying to learn all these fancy words, and there's a lot of them, but and regenerative took me a minute to even say. but yeah, essentially, also there's these styles of farming which use a lot of anaerobic ferments, but a lot of people are like, oh, anaerobic ferments, yipes, and I get it, it smells a little different when you're making some of these solutions, but the idea is, you want to get your nutrients from an organic source that's as close by as possible. And in the case, for our nitrogen source, we found some local poultry pellets, pelletized poultry products, but in order to
Local
even
soil.
some different things that's from right around. There's a mineral different minerals, just
Biochar.
basic biomineral. I didn't get into biochar because we need to it would be great if we could,